Welcome back to another edition of Random Videos, and today's topic is Oppenheimer, the movie. I know the movie is not much in news anymore. If they are not in memes, they are not in news. So the world keeps on moving on to newer items. But I believe it's one of the most important movies of this year. And I should have spoken about this earlier, but I didn't have the time or whatever. Uh, uh, this video is about the particular scene where uh, it's a series of scenes where Dr. Oppenheimer is going through moral dilemma after the explosion when he realizes that okay, this is what you've done and it can be destructive. Obviously, they all knew what they were doing, being scientists, being such brilliant thinkers. They knew what they were doing, but he he realizes that this can be terrible for mankind or humankind. And he he makes his thoughts known, which puts him in a political quagmire because at that time you had to be non-pacifist to be seen as the good ones. Now, whenever you think of a bomb, whenever you think of Manhattan Project, you have to give credit to Dr. Oppenheimer for being a man manager. Without his involvement, without him being the leader of the project, I not just me, obviously, because my knowledge is very tertiary or should actually much lower than that. It's a known thing in the science circle that without him at the helm, the project wouldn't have succeeded because the Nazis were there, they could have done it if they could. The Soviets were there, they failed. So that tells us that for a team to reach you know its goal, a collective goal, the manager, the team leader plays a very important role. And in this case, Dr. Oppenheimer played a massive role with great sacrifices on personal front, obviously, but he did it. And but when the success came to him, he had all those questions, which made him you know think of the dilemma that Arjuna had during Mahabharata. And that's why the Bhagavad Gita references are very, very stark. And it's interesting that this man also had those thoughts, those conflicts, because he wasn't sure that what they created was actually required, or they weren't sure anymore, and whether it will lead to more conflicts. Obviously, back then the narrative was that this bomb is going to end all wars, which is not what happened, obviously. Since World War II, there hasn't been 1 year devoid of war, devoid of heavy weaponry. In fact, there hasn't been even 1 year where uh, the companies that produce arms have gone through some kind of dip. No, it has been uh, just boom time for them. So it's very interesting that this man thought of all those things, and then to to put everything into place, you have this brilliant climax where, without giving any spoilers, this conversation which tells you everything that you need to know whenever you're working for something which is much bigger than you, which is the so-called cause. You'll realize that as an individual, no matter what your position is, whether you are a foot soldier, whether you're an old soldier, whether you are a commander or a manager or team leader, whatever you are, if the cause is very big, it means it's not about you anymore. And that is something Dr. Oppenheimer already knew. He already had that in his mind. But still he went ahead and did his not job, because like I mentioned in my previous video, there's a difference between job and work. So he thought he did his work, and there was something very much moral about it. So obviously he suffered for that, but it's a very interesting take, right, on what you should do, what you want to do, and what you end up doing, and you pay a price for it. Now that price, whatever it is, you just have to accept it. And that's exactly what I think Dr. Oppenheimer also did in his life.